This was written by a famous lawyer and novelist John Grisham. Some characters necessary to remind to understand the story. Theodore Boone, main character. Woods Boone, Theodore's father. Marcella Boone, Theodore's mother. Ike Boone, Theodore's uncle. Judge Gantry, judge. Julio, Theodore's friend. Bobby, Julio's cousin. Mr. and Mrs. Duffy. City name, Strattonburg City. About Theodore Boone. Theodore Boone was a 13-year-old kid. His father, Woods Boone, was real estate lawyer and mother, Marcella Boone, was divorce lawyer. Because of his parents, Theodore quite read and understand legal information. He knows all the policemen, lawyers, judges and other legal professionals in the city. He was famous in his school. He was called by his nickname Kid Lawyer because he used to provide legal advice to his friends if necessary. Summary. In the story, Pete Duffy is accused of murdering his wife Mrs. Duffy. Mr. Duffy was very rich, had big house with private golf yard and was very famous in the Strattonburg City. A case was filed against Mr. Duffy for murdering his wife. This was very suspense case as everyone in the city wanted to know the outcome of the case. Theo has very good relation with Judge Gantry, who was the judge of Mr. Duffy case. Theo asked permission with the judge to see the trail. He and his friends wanted to see the trail and Judge Gantry given the permission. In the first trail, the prosecutor lawyer was Jack Hogan. Clifford Nance was the defense lawyer of Mr. Duffy. During the post-mortem of Mrs. Duffy body, nothing was found. It was proved that there was no any cause of death. It seemed as natural death. The prosecutor lawyer, Jack Hogan, said in his statement that Mrs. Duffy was killed by no other than her husband Mr. Duffy. According to his statement, the relation between Mr. and Mrs. Duffy was not nice. Both of them had hired divorced lawyer before. Mr. Duffy was a real estate businessman. His business was in loss, so Pete Duffy killed his wife for the insurance money, which was worth $1 million, since he was having financial problem at that time. The insurance was done 2 years ago, and since then Mr. Duffy started playing golf alone. Before that he used to play golf with his friend. Hogan tried to say that Mr. Duffy might be planning to murder her from that time. The prosecutor also tried to show the affair of Pete Duffy with his secretary. Clifford Nance started to defend his client, saying that we cannot prove someone's guilt through may or may not. The prosecutor doesn't have any evidences or witness to prove Mr. Duffy a murderer. He also said that his client Pete Duffy cannot be proved murderer on the basis of the doubt. The trail happened further long, it was not proved who was right and who was wrong. Theo role starts from here. Julia is the friend of Theo who used to study in the same class. As we know, Theo is like the kid lawyer, so Julia said she had some important things to talk with him. She also asked him to promise that he won't say this to other. Bobby Escobar is Julia's cousin, and Bobby has seen how Mr. Duffy has killed his wife. He has witnessed all the scene with his own eyes and has got strong evidences. After hearing this, Theo wanted to meet Bobby because he wants to help in this case. Julia first denies because Bobby was an illegal immigrant and police might cause trouble if they find out about Bobby. Theo wanted to share this topic with someone. He went home and shared this with his uncle, Ike Boone. Ike suggested Theo to meet with Bobby, talk with him, listen what Bobby has to say, understand him in many ways, collect all the evidences if possible. This might help to settle the case and provided justice the dead. If Mr. Duffy has really murdered his wife, then he must get punishment. When a criminal is free, it is not good for society. Theo requested Julio to ask his cousin to meet with him. Finally, Bobby agrees and they meet each other. Bobby used to live with his mother and sister. They were economically backward. Bobby used to cut grass of the golf yard of Mr. Duffy. Bobby told Theo that Pete Duffy is a cold-blooded murderer. He killed his wife by pressing her neck. Mr. Duffy wore gloves while pressing the neck. Mr. Duffy threw the gloves in the dustbin. Later, Bobby took the gloves from the dustbin. Bobby was sitting at the corner of the ground when this incident happened and had witnessed all the incident. Bobby said these all things in Spanish and Julia translated this to Theodore. Theodore explained all these to his uncle Ike. Then, they went to his parents and explained all the situation. They also meet Judge Gantry and explained all. Later, Judge Gantry declared the trial as mistrial. The story ends here.